We now have advisories being issued on a potential tropical cyclone. Good morning, I'm Mike Naso with this Thursday morning update on that system we're watching in the Caribbean Sea. When we take a look at it on visible satellite, it is a beautiful looking system. It has the appearance and outflow of a mature hurricane, but it is sitting over land, and that's why it's not developing right now. But as it moves into the Caribbean, we will likely see development. We've already seen a lot of heavy rainfall there in areas of Trinidad, Tobago, and along the north coast here of Venezuela, to say nothing of the flooding we saw in Trinidad. This system is now a potential tropical cyclone forecast to become a hurricane in a couple of days. Looking elsewhere on the screen, we had Payne, Tropical Storm Payne in the Pacific. That is gone now. What's left of Ian still trying to grasp at straws at staying alive in the North Atlantic as it moves on out. We won't deal with Ian anymore ever again. And then we still have a tropical depression out here which has not been able to become a tropical storm, although it looked like it tried last night. Let's get to the latest on this system here. Potential Tropical Cyclone 13. So they started doing this a few years ago where we need watches and warnings out. We have a tropical storm warning in effect for the north coastline there of Colombia all the way to the Venezuelan border. And because we need watches and warnings out, but the system doesn't meet the criteria of a tropical cyclone, they issue an advisory for a potential tropical cyclone. So once it becomes a tropical depression in about 12 hours or so, and then a tropical storm, it'll get a number and then a name. It is forecast to move very close to the coastline of Colombia or over it, and by Friday night be a tropical storm over the Caribbean. By Saturday night start strengthening, and then Sunday make landfall in Nicaragua as a hurricane. This track is very reminiscent of Tropical Storm Bonnie from a couple of months ago. Remember in, was it June or July, we had Bonnie, which never got going because it was so close to land, and then right before landfall in Nicaragua, it almost became a hurricane, moved into the Pacific, and became a Category 3 hurricane on that side. This is forecast to move a little further north than Bonnie and become a hurricane before landfall, and again, it could be on the northern edge of this cone, more towards Honduras and Belize and Yucatan. It could be more on the southern edge towards Costa Rica. Right now, if you're in Nicaragua, be preparing for a hurricane landfall, and over the next 2 days, we'll have hurricane watches and eventually warnings put up for your area. Here's the infrared satellite imagery, and look at this convection bursting here. A lot of lightning, a lot of bad weather, and then even over areas there of Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, the southern Windward Islands. You guys are having heavy rainfall in these bands that are taking a long time to pool out, and the flooding has been very, very nasty. But the pattern here looks very favorable as far as the shape of the storm. It looks like whatever center there is right over land, maybe trying to get over water. And so once it has a northwesterly component and moves over water, we will see it develop. There's the radar out of Curacao, I believe, and this is showing the ABC Islands. You have Aruba, you have Bonaire, and then Curacao. And right now, a lot of the heavy rainfall is affecting the north coastline here of Venezuela. Caracas, you guys are in for a wet day, to say nothing of Colombia as that moisture moves on towards the west-northwest. The computer models are in pretty good agreement that this is going to stay very tight towards the west and then make landfall in Central America sometime on Sunday or maybe Saturday night, maybe Monday morning, but probably on Sunday. And again, it could be Honduras, it could be Costa Rica, but probably Nicaragua as a Category 1 hurricane. The only reason it's not going to be stronger than that is time. This thing's over land. If this was further north, forget about it. It would be a monster hurricane roaring into the Yucatan. Here's the HWRF model, and this actually makes it a Category 3 hurricane and has it coming ashore on Monday there in areas of Nicaragua, and then look at how it dissipates right over areas there of El Salvador. And then this is the hurricane model, the HMON. Not quite as intense, takes its time, but it still becomes a Category 1 hurricane before making landfall there in areas of Nicaragua. The upper level winds very, very favorable for development here. So again, its only problem is it's sitting over South America. If it moves over water, we will see it develop quickly. The key messages: number one, tropical storm conditions expected across areas of the Colombian coastline tonight and early Friday. Tropical storm warning is issued. Gusts to tropical storm force are possible in northern Venezuela, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao through early Friday as well. Secondly, the system's expected to strengthen when it moves over the Caribbean Sea, and interest in San Andres, Providencia, and portions of Central America. Some of those are little islands off Nicaragua. You guys need to closely monitor the progress. Watches could be required later today or tonight. And finally, this is most important, heavy rainfall could cause life-threatening flash flooding in portions of Colombia, Venezuela, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao in the next day or so. Heavy rains, potential for flash flooding and mudslides are expected, and that will spread to Central America later this week. We've already seen that in areas there of Trinidad and Tobago with a lot of flooding, and I'm sure this is only going to continue as the system moves towards the west and west-northwest. Another look at it there on the satellite, there's our tropical depression. We're not going to talk about this. It doesn't have a much longer time to live out there. A lot of dust pumping off of Africa here, you can see on that image. But still, hurricane season, and this system looks like it's going to be our next hurricane. Definitely has the shape to it, and we will wait and see. Right now, definitely rainfall impacts for the northern coastline of Venezuela and Colombia, and then a hurricane landfall for Central America later this weekend. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics. Stay tuned as we watch this system in the Caribbean Sea.